Hello and welcome to part 4 of the UBIK system. So again, just to reiterate, you want to click the commit corresponding to UBIK part 4. And what we're going to be doing in this video is to set up a debug transform function, which will come in very handy once we start to try and visualize what happens in this setup here. So make sure you double click that and then you open up the project. For this, I would prefer to create a blueprint function library. We're just going to call this UBIK help us something, and let's create a function called debug or called DrawAxes. And what this is going to do is to take in a transform like so, and then it's going to take in a few other things. But to begin with, let's draw some lines here, really. That's the first thing. So draw arrow, debug arrow. Let's see if this compiles. Okay, so the line start is going to be the transform here. So for now, I think I'm going to create a local, you know what, not a variable, that's a bad idea. I'm going to create a local variable of type vector. Location. This doesn't really need to look pretty or anything, I just like to do it anyway, so it's a little bit easier to explain. So for the first one, we're going to draw out this one, and then actually let me just also promote this. Oh fuck. Not a variable. Huh. Create a rotator variable, local variable. Call this rotation. Set rotation. Okay. So the line end is going to be, the first one is going to be the forward vector. So get forward vector, and this is obviously just 1 unit long, so we're going to multiply that by a by a float, and then we're going to take in a another parameter to this function. We're going to call arrow length. So let's compile this and expand this one and set a default value to, let's say, 10. So this is going to be the 10 unit long vector. So once we have that, we are going to add this plus vector together with this one. And we could also expose some of the other things, but for now let's just leave them. And since the forward vector is normally red, we're just gonna set this to red, like so. So let's just for now test this out. We have an error. What did it say? New. Okay, whatever. So on the event graph here, we could do something like DrawAxes now, and then take in the same transform. Fuck. I'm just gonna get the left hand for now, just to test, and hit play. And that means that we should, whoops, we should see a little arrow sticking out. It's kind of small and a little bit hard to see. So let's change the function here just a little bit. Say the arrow size should maybe be 1. No. I think it's the wrong one. It's the thickness maybe. It's plenty thick. Okay, so we can now also create the right and the up vector. So the rotation here, oops, it needs to be the right. You know what, we can, once we compile this, we can just type in arrow length like this. And the location, connect that, oops. Location, like that. And that needs to be, that's the right, so it's going to be green. And let's do it for the up vector, which is going to be blue. All right, hit play. So now we have some small fat arrows. Might want to change the default, or maybe change, actually, I think I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna take this one and make it a bit smaller, 0.1. And this one, 0.1, and let's see, that's a little bit better. And then we're gonna take these cubes here as well, and then 0.08. See if that's better. I like that. That means we can still click the balls like so, and move them around, and we can still see also see the arrows. So sometimes we don't have, or during the course of these videos, we will have some transform that we don't necessarily have a visual presentation for, and that means that it will be helpful also to have a little sphere maybe sometimes. So we're gonna add in another parameter in here. This is going to be a Boolean, and it's called draw sphere. And if this is true, then we're going to draw a sphere, and we're going to give it a little parameter here, like sphere radius and sphere color. What is this? Linear color. Okay, so I'm gonna default this to always draw 1 and set the sphere radius to, let's say, 12 or something. And the color we're gonna set per default to be white, I think, like so. So let's go and add a branch at the end. Draw debug here. No, it's not. There we go. And the location or the center is going to be our location, and the radius is going to be sphere radius. And then the line color is going to be the sphere color. Okay, let's just keep the rest like that. Okay, so right now we don't really see it. It's probably because we need to set this sphere radius like something like 15 or something. There we go. So now we can see it's a good way to visualize if you have a transform, for example, that you want to visualize and you're not exactly sure where it is and or what direction it's pointing. I'm not too happy though about the thickness of these. I think they're way too fat, so I'm gonna set this to 0.5, 0.5 and 0.5. And you know what, I'm also gonna set this default value to 12. Looks a little bit better, I think. Okay, and a bit curious, why didn't, there we go. So we can use this basically to visualize where a given transform is. And this is, as mentioned, going to be very handy from now on. For now, I'm just going to take what I added in here and delete it because we don't really need it for now. But what we could do instead, before we end this video, is to go into our UBIK component and on tick, then take these here and debug draw them and create a set of let's say sequence here and say head effector, DrawAxes, left hand, right hand. Oops. There we go. So now we have a clear visual representation of how this is rotated and all that stuff. It's going to be very handy indeed. And the neat thing about this is I just placed them in a sequence, so if I'm getting tired of this, then I can just disable it like that. Or I can put in something to tell whether or not we want to show debug stuff. Anyway, that's what I had for this video. We're going to continue in the next, where I will talk about the structure and what will actually happen in this IK solution. So I realized that so far it has just been a bunch of debug settings and stuff that aren't really necessarily related to IK, but we're going to have a look at that in the next video. So stay tuned and see you in the next. Bye.